Hello and welcome to episode 43 of the Boot Nerds podcast. Jay, what's going on?
I'm very good, my friend. How are you?
I am. You know what? Winter came really fast this year.
I mean, you are in Canada.
Last week, I was wearing. Granted, I was wearing a hoodie, but I was wearing shorts with that hoodie, and then the next day, I'm breaking out the winter coat.
Wow. Okay.
Haven't looked back since. It's very cold, just out of the blue.
Your hair is also getting longer. If you were my dog, I'd take you to the dog hairdressers. I'm just saying. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. Today we gotta talk about this brand new thing here, not about our haircuts, because obviously they could be better. What couldn't be better, in my opinion at least, is the new Uniforia ball here for the Euro 20 tournament next year. I really like it. First thoughts?
When I first saw it, I legitimately thought it was a brand new design, and we don't normally get a new design until the World Cup for this line of ball from Adidas, right? Every 4 years they change it, but it's actually the same as a Telstar. It just looks different because of the patterns. And honestly, from a visual perspective, the complaint that everyone had with the Telstar is it was kind of boring. I made the distinction that it kind of looked like it was Minecraft themed. But yeah, I think people will appreciate the color, and it has a little bit of a bazooka vibe to it to a certain extent. But I don't know. I don't love it, but I don't hate it.
I absolutely love it. I think it's one of the best looking tournament balls we have seen since the bazooka actually. It has a little bit of everything. It has this edgy look that the Telstar brought. It is, after all, the same template. There are minor tech differences that we can talk about in a bit, but I really love how it merges the colorfulness of the bazooka with the black blocking that they had on the Telstar. I think it looks smashing, absolutely smashing. One of the and it's just so modern. It's so it's so angular and still very. It's so holistic. I'm saying a lot of really, really fancy words here, but I really like to look at it, and the way it looks when it moves through the air, it's super easy to follow its movement, and yeah, I like it quite a lot, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about the ball a little bit more. We're going to talk about a couple of things, but what I will say right at the start, as we do with every podcast, if you have any questions that you'd like us to answer in the next episode, because we do a Q&A part in every one of these podcasts, leave your questions down below in the comment section. That would be fantastic. And also, if you guys enjoy the Boot Nerds podcast, that does happen on a weekly basis, by the way, make sure you support this video with a like, and make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're also available on all of the streaming services, so if you want the audio-only versions, bootnerds.com, that's our website. Everything is available there.
Solid. That was a very good presentation. But back to the ball. I'm sorry, my mind has just been completely focused on the ball today because I really, really like it. It's called Uniforia, right? And when we talked about it just before going live, you had some words about that name.
I understand. It's confusing, right? Because immediately I thought Euphoria, then it's Uniforia. Is that even a word, or is this a made-up word by Adidas?
It is not a word. It is not a word. And the idea behind it is that football... So Euro 2020 is going to be held in 12 different countries all across Europe. Denmark is one of them, which is nice. But the idea is that we're going to see a host of different, obviously, cultures, people, arts, music, food, and the only constant is football and what football does to people. So the idea is to use football as a means to cross borders and to unite people and to unite the euphoria happening throughout the tournament. So uniting euphoria, Uniforia. It might be a little bit cheesy, but I kind of like it.
The concept makes a lot of sense. What I will say in regards to the graphics, they've gone with pink, what is a neon green, and a neon blue, which, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think there is a single country in the Euro Cup that wears any of those colors.
But maybe that's the point. I don't know if this is official, but maybe that is the point, to have colors that, so you don't have, the normal standard royal blue and then red and white, and that would, everyone would say, it's France. Why do you have France? Do you prefer France? Maybe that's just playing it safe and have like a really colorful, theme of the Euro 2020 tournament. Because these are some of the official colors for that tournament that Adidas are using.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it could be an explanation.
It's a really unique look. I mean, my first impression of the ball was like, oh my gosh, looks like a bunch of puzzle pieces that were put together, which, I mean, technically every football kind of is that concept, but this, I think, takes that to an extreme. And honestly, I was thinking about it, like, if you went back even 15, 20 years and you showed the footballing community, if you want to call them that particular ball, not giving them any kind of context, do you think they would even guess that was a football?
I don't think they would guess it was a match ball, no. I mean, let's just say that 13 years ago we had the Team Guys, which is one of the best looking footballs I can think of. Very, very classy. Black and white, had a little bit of gold in it, but this is obviously something very, very radical compared to that. So I think you're right, but maybe it's also, a generational change, that people who are playing with this and seeing this now, 6 years after the Brazuca, that kind of set things in motion when it comes to colorful footballs, right? Maybe this is just something that they're getting more and more used to, especially with Premier League and the Nike balls, Champions League balls on top of everything going really colorful. Maybe it's just a shift in the way things are going.
Yeah, like, I mean, I think the general opinion, and I'm curious to hear what people think about this ball down below in the comments, but I think the general opinion is going to be pretty positive based on the fact that it does look so much like the Brazuca, which everyone seemed to unanimously like. I'm just trying to think, what was the last Euro ball?
That was the beau jeu. I actually have both the Brazuca and the beau jeu with me.
Yes.
Just talk for a second.
Which was, in my opinion, not a very good looking ball. And I was just, in my head, I was kind of thinking, what were the most memorable balls to be featured in the Euro Cup over the last several tournaments? And I don't know about you, Jay, but I was not a huge fan of the look of the beau jeu ball. I don't know.
Really?
It was just, to me, that's like, it's very uninspired design, I mean, it's simple. It's not an ugly ball by any means, but I wasn't overly impressed.
Right. That's fair. I would lean towards saying it's actually a pretty good looking football. When you see it now, okay, it does look kind of, because it's on the Brazuca template and the lines don't really, they don't line up with the panel design, but when you look at it from afar, I like the mix, maybe just because I like red, blue, and white together. I just like what they did with it. But it is a little busy, to be honest.
Yeah. No, my next question, and my opinion hasn't changed on this for a very long time. What is the best looking Euro match ball? Because Adidas has been providing it for, is it the entirety of the tournament? It's been a long time anyways. I'm not sure exactly how long it has been. But the one that I really like, and I don't know if it's just because I was a kid at the time, but I was always a big fan of the Euro, was it 2004? Mm-hmm. With the blue one?
The slightly the slightly gray one.
Slightly grayish blue. It kind of looked a little bit like light blue in the light, but it was kind of like gray.
Rotero,
is that what it was?
Yes. I think that's
that ball.
But that also really broke the mold, right? Mm-hmm. That was different, and I don't, it's funny that we can't even determine which kind of color it is. I'm looking at it right here, and it did for as a matter of fact, it took me a couple of seconds to remember what it's called. It's that long ago, but yeah, a beautiful looking football. I think I have a little bit of a bad memory about it because I didn't like the way it felt. So I didn't particularly enjoy it because this was back when they didn't just carry over the as far as I remember at least, it didn't feel like it. They didn't just carry over the template, the panel design from the World Cup ball. So if I remember correctly, this was a bit more padded than the FIFA Nova and had a bit more like foamy, of a foamy feel to it. But it looks cool.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I remember 100%, but what I do remember is that this was one of the first balls that I ever saw that had the fused panels rather than stitched. And I don't know, my impression of it when the few times I got to play it, I remember we'd play an away team and they happened to have one as a match ball and it was super exciting. But I remember it feeling very lightweight and kind of a little bit of a flyaway type ball.
Yeah.
Which when you're a kid, I mean, if you can kick the ball further, that's always great, right? That's an exciting thing.
Yeah, and it did come off the back of the FIFA Nova, which was, I would say, the first really lively ball from Adidas. So yeah, I don't remember what they had in 2000 for the Euros. I'm just gonna look that up. Whoa, what was that?
Oh, it's the.
That was the Silver Stream, of course.
Terrestre Silver Stream.
Yeah, that was basically the. It was based on the France '98 World Cup ball, the tricolore, and then it had the same like tango design around, but it was just like a silver dot pattern instead. Also very very good looking ball.
Oh, here's I don't think I have it here. Right here. Then there was Europass and there was Tango 12, which...
The Europass was amazing, right? It was basically a Telstar with a slight... not Telstar, what am I saying? Teamgeist with a slightly more, it had more grip to it. It had these little dots on the upper to give it a bit more like a tactile sensation.
Texture that's kind of like the norm with match balls today, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, interesting.
Tango was also nice. I liked the clean look of the Tango, and it also had a little bit of a vibrancy to it.
Yeah, the Tango was not a bad looking ball at all. I personally, I think with Adidas at least, some of their best looking match balls are the ones where the pattern actually works with the panel shape design, right? That's why I wasn't a huge fan of the Beau Jeu, is it kind of goes against the panel shape, where again, the Bazooka kind of highlights the unique design. The Telstar does not, right? It kind of hides the very geometric shapes that you have on the ball to a certain extent. Where on this new one, I mean, it makes it look like a completely new ball just because you're highlighting this weird kind of puzzle piece shape thing. Yeah. I don't hate it.
I mean, I saw it for the first time a long time ago when we got it briefed, and it just, I immediately liked it. And hearing all this story about how, the different colors around the edges of the panels are seen as borders, and then the black is bridges and people crossing bridges, crossing borders, like I can't speak English today, flowing seamlessly and freely between the different panels or countries, if you will. It's a beautiful little thing. And then you have all the names of the host cities dotted around here in silver with the geographical coordinates as well. So if you want to know where Copenhagen is, you just have to find it. It is located on 5542-3777 north and something east. People don't care, but it's there.
Wow, that's good. Good to know. Color aside, is it physically the same ball as a Telstar? Because I have not had it in person yet.
More or less. I had it in my hands before we did the video for Unisport, and I decided, yes, this is the same ball. But then I started playing with it, and it actually feels like, just going to grab the Telstar. Oops. It actually feels like the Uniforia has a different coating. So the coating on the Telstar is a little bit more matte to the touch. It feels a little bit less sticky, a little bit more flat, if you will. Whereas the little dimples are there, and while they have the same shape on the Uniforia, it feels like they stand out a little bit more, and that the coating has become a little bit more smooth and actually slightly less grippy. It's a little bit more slippery, especially when it gets wet. Something I'm not particularly fond of, but apart from that, it's still the same great football. The Telstar was a good football. I liked it. It's good fun, reasonably reliable, fun to play with for the guys shooting, less so for the keepers. That's the way it goes. And this keeps that whole, fast flowing sensation, but with more oomph and solidity behind it compared to, say, a Teamgeist or a FIFA Nova for that matter. Yeah. Or Jabulani.
So this is this is just a topic. We didn't talk about this before, but I've talked about this a few times, and I think it's a very interesting topic because obviously the Euro is a big deal. The World Cup is a big deal. The professional leagues, it's all very, very important in terms of what the results are, and there's a lot of money behind all of this. The match balls that are used for the tournaments and leagues, it's basically all cash deals, right? Adidas pays FIFA, who runs the Euro Cup, a ton of money to be the match ball supplier. And then they, of course, approve, I would think, more or less whatever they decide the match ball is going to be, which is why we end up with such insane variety of match balls across different leagues and tournaments. And I know a lot of people who maybe just don't know the difference between one ball to the next. They think, it's totally nonsense to say that a football is a football, a lot of people will say. But you having used a lot of different match balls, pretty much every single one, there is a huge difference between a Telstar or this Uniforia ball and the Nike match ball, as an example, the Merlin 2. It's a tremendous difference. And then when you compare that to the La Liga Puma match ball and you compare that to the Champions League ball, they all feel distinctively different. They all come off your foot differently. They all seemingly have different weights. They all seemingly fly through the air differently, but they're all FIFA approved.
And that is obviously...
Why is football the one sport where the ball, really you only need one thing to play this sport? Why is the ball not more standardized?
And it's a funny question. That's because the FIFA approval thing is something, you have to pay to get. You have to pay to get your ball tested, which costs, as I'm aware, a whole lot of money, which is why on some balls that were FIFA approved, you will only see them being, I don't know if it's still the term, but back in the day, they could be FIFA approved and FIFA inspected. So when they are approved, they're put through more rigorous testing, right? I think it's something that's, it's an interesting topic because, there are clearly different opinions on what a good football is. Is it entertaining? For the spectators? Is it reliable for the players? Or is it simply just, I don't know what else it could be. Entertaining or is there some sort of middle ground like Nike maybe trying to hit? I don't have an answer, but it would be both. I think for players would probably be more convenient if we knew that every time we would use the same ball. Or the same, a ball that had a similar feel no matter where you played, what condition you played in. But on the other hand, there's also kind of the beauty, the whole diversity of never really knowing which kind of football you get to play with. So, yeah, it's a good question.
I think every professional is going to have a little bit of a different opinion on it. But, I can imagine as a pro, where basically the one thing that you work on day in, day out is your touch and just being as consistent as possible. And the one variable, aside from the weather and the playing surface and stuff like that, the one condition that's always changing is the match ball for these guys. And I have to imagine that would be super annoying. I know that growing up, that was the one thing that I absolutely hated about almost every league that I played in, is that home team provided the match ball and every team had a different ball. So every game you'd go into it and it's like, oh man, can I steal the match ball from the other team to use it in the warm up so I can kind of have an idea of what I'm getting into?
Yeah.
I don't know. I always hated that about this sport. And at the professional level, I just feel like it's weird. You don't see them trying to mess with the basketball. They're not messing with the hockey puck. They're not changing up the tennis ball. But in this sport, football, it's the one thing that's required. It's I almost feel like they're giving these brands way too much freedom to just, create something that's never been done before, even though it's not really necessary. I'm just waiting for the one match ball to come out that legitimately does fly 10 miles an hour faster and travels further and is from, there's a measurable difference between that ball and how it performs versus the other ones.
I think you can easily make that ball. I think Nike and Adidas could make that ball if they kept, going down the path of the Team Geist and the Jabulani. I think it would be simple if they wanted to. But I also think that, you can take it too far, as we saw with those balls. But I agree that it's it's probably a money thing. There's a lot of lobbying going around, and it's a clear business model for the brands. you can also counter the argument of saying, yes, to develop a consistent touch, it would be nice to have something that you just know blindly how it performs. But, and this is going down a slightly different route, but going to Africa. I recently went to Ghana to see the Right to Dream Academy down there, and seeing young kids playing on beaches, on sand, really rough conditions. And these guys, they had the most amazing touch in the world because they had a really, really amazing touch. And I was very surprised by how they managed to always have, completely kill the ball dead, no matter how crappy the pitch was or how weird the ball was bouncing or anything, because they're just used to being ready for everything. And maybe that's you can say that, okay, diversity in how the ball moves will improve your range of capability when it comes to the touch. If that's even a sentence you can say in English.
No, you're right. I think my point is that, and you said it perfectly in that it's very much a money thing, and it's not so much for the brands. It's FIFA, right? Because FIFA is approving all of these products. Meanwhile, you end up with something like a Jabulani that, it flies through the air in a way that footballs are not supposed to and never have flown through the air, yet it got FIFA approved. And 2 years ago because before the World Cup, there was a couple of goalkeepers. Off the top of my head, I can't remember their names. I want to say De Gea was one of them. I want to say Reina was one of them.
Pepe Reina, yeah.
There was another one there too. But they were complaining about the bazooka just in training and matches leading up to the Telstar, sorry. And it does. It has a little bit of you can hit the ball sometimes and it does something you weren't expecting it to do. Let's just say that.
But it's not the worst out there, I would say, either. It is a more balanced, both the Telstar and also the Uniforia. It's a more balanced football than, I wouldn't say it's too different to the Bourgeois or the Bazooka, because they feel a lot similar. I would say it's probably slightly more stable, but that's kind of, it is only for the nerds to really feel that. But compared
to the Jabulani and stuff, than Bazooka, no?
Yeah, slightly. But also, and it does feel a little, more solid and stable and reliable, but it's like, it's not really much, to be honest. But comparing it to the Jabulanis and the Team Guys that were very lively, even the Fever Nova, it's just a different thing. And I think, it's a money thing. It's also about, wanting to make football more entertaining, see more goals, which obviously players love. At least those who are shooting, and keepers hate. And I think it's the same thing with the Uniforia. I said in my review of it that it's fun for players to shoot with, because sometimes it really moves like a missile. Once it leaves your foot and you put a lot of power, you hit it the right way, it really zings off your foot. And even though it takes a deflection off a defender, like it maintains a lot of its momentum and it feels super fast. And that can be hell for keepers, obviously.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good point. I legitimately think that the match balls we have now versus what we had 20 years ago, the balls do fly through the air more quickly and they come off your foot more quickly.
Absolutely.
And just speaking on the FIFA thing, I did some research on exactly what FIFA Approved means. And there's not a ton of information out there, but it looks like it's a bunch of different tests that more so measure consistency and durability in regards to impact rather than... They don't seem to care that much about once the ball has left your foot, what it does.
No.
Which is the issue that people do complain about when they do complain, right? And just on the topic of match ball drama as of late, I'm sure you saw it. The winter ball introduced by PUMA for La Liga gets that FIFA approved badge. It's used for one match day, and then shortly after is like, hey, we can't even see the ball.
Yeah.
So again, that goes to show you like what is this FIFA approved system if they couldn't even figure out that, you know what, people aren't going to be able to see this when it's flying through the air with the background of all the fans in the stadium. I don't know.
It probably goes to show that the problem, if there is a problem, but if you recognize that there's a problem, and I'm not saying there is, but if you do, well, I don't think the problem lies with the brands and the manufacturers. It lies with FIFA, because they frankly have to tighten up on what makes a ball FIFA approved or not, because clearly there is a lot of inconsistency and a lot of cases where, not everyone likes what is FIFA approved, and they might want to tighten up on that.
Yeah, I honestly, Jay, I would love to see, because there's rules for everything in every sport, but I would love to see the ball has to be this size. It has to weigh this much. It has to have this many panels, and maybe those panels have to be this shape. And whatever you want to play around with around those rules, that base set of rules, go for it. But I feel like they've given the brands this like green light to do whatever they want, implement as much new tech and texturing and ACC and whatever others interesting or weird thing they want to incorporate, which ultimately I don't think people care about. Like, I have to be honest.
But the thing is, right, that they do stick to the regulations. They you know, they're made to the, you know, to be within the boundaries of what's allowed for football. So maybe they just need to tighten up. And I don't mind it has ACC. I don't mind it has all these little dots, if they're called non-stop grip dots or not. I don't think they are. But it's just funny. And a little side note, it doesn't actually say FIFA approved anymore. It from the brochure and going forward, it only says FIFA Quality Pro. And
they got rid of that. So now, that's another loophole that they did, I think, to sell the value of the FIFA approved thing, because people started to understand that FIFA approved and FIFA inspected, basically FIFA inspected doesn't mean anything. They're just paying to have a badge on there. And for a while, people thought FIFA inspected was FIFA approved, and it's not. Now they just do FIFA. There's like Quality. A FIFA approval badge, and there's a code. And you actually have to go on the FIFA website and look up the code to see if it's FIFA approved or just, in fact, FIFA inspected. So they basically made you have to do your homework in order to figure out what you're buying exactly, which is very clever on their part, but that's what they're doing now.
Yeah. But you know, we can talk about, you know, is the system wrong and our footballs, you know, do people have two free hands to do what they want? At the end of the day, I like this football. I think it's a fun football to play with. Would I be happy to play exclusively with this in matches over the course of a season? I would. I think it's a good football. It's acceptable. It's not the best on the market, in my opinion. That's still the Select Brilliant Super, but it's definitely up there, and I enjoy using it a lot.
Final question, and part of my ignorance, does this one have that the NFC chip tap thing like the Telstar had?
No, it doesn't.
Oh, they got rid of that.
It's actually also a bit cheaper than the Telstar. It's probably because they don't have the NFC chip. And I don't know anyone who actually used it.
No, I was very worried when I got that ball. I thought, okay, I'm going to take, because I had it before everyone else had it, as I'm sure you did too. I thought, I'm going to take it to the field, and there's going to be a million people trying to come up to the ball and tap their phones on it. Never happened once. I don't think people even knew it existed. And then even, I don't know if you played around with it, but it was like the most useless thing ever. Like, there was no real incentive to go and tap the ball with your phone.
You didn't get much that you didn't already get at the launch of the ball. Yeah. You didn't get, you got some information. I think I looked at it for 5 minutes and that was it. So, but at the end of the day, what do we think about the Uniforia ball?
It's good. I'm not mad at it.
You must be the hardest guy ever in the universe to get an excited comment out of.
It's a 6.5 out of 10 for me. I think it's visually good looking.
I don't understand.
I would have liked to have seen something different than a Telstar, to be honest. Yeah. I knew it wasn't going to happen. It's better looking than the Telstar. I think the public response will be good. And yeah.
I don't understand your rating though. 6 out of 10. What kind of measuring unit is that?
It's not a good rating system.
It's like we need to use the official boot bag rating system instead. But anyway, I like it too. I would give it an 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10.
If we have to use like the old school nonsensical measurement unit. Anyways, Josh, before we jump over to the questions, and if you have any questions, by the way, to the Uniforia ball or to us, or if you're unhappy with something we said or whatever, you can leave everything, your questions, your thoughts in the comment section right down below. And if you haven't slapped on a like on the video already, well, now is a good time to do so. But we also want to talk about these, which is the winterized PUMA pack, the Future, and the One. And what does winterize mean apart from the fact that they look super chilly? Well, it means that just like we saw with Adidas last year, these have actually been equipped with an inner liner of the material called Thinsulate, which is a thin insulation layer. Hey! And it's actually pretty. It works. I just went out to give them a run the other day, and they feel nice. And the brilliant thing about this fiber that Thinsulate is that it basically takes your body heat and it circulates it around to basically use your own body heat to keep you warm, and then it takes all the moisture from your feet, which usually is what makes you cold once that cools down. And it basically pushes it away and up out of the membrane, so it lets it evaporate, if you want to call it that, and it's nice.
Yeah, I think this is a cool concept, but I think it's also a stretch because I think we saw this with the Adidas pack as well. I don't know that people care enough to buy boots for specific. You think so?
It was wildly popular with us at Unisport.
Really?
Wildly popular, yeah. I was also surprised myself at how fast they went, but I mean, maybe it's because we're in the Nordics up here, and it gets really rowdy in the winter. It's not nice, and everyone hates when your feet get cold and you can't really feel your toes, and then you strike the ball and all hell breaks loose, right? It was nice with the Adi boots, and it works the same on the Puma. It simply just works. I did feel that my feet are warmer and nicer, and it gives it like a very nice plush, fuzzy sensation. And it's not bulky. It's not really in the way. It's just there and replaces the normal liner.
Yeah, and you know what? People really hate being cold. That's to me, like if I have to go play in freezing temperatures, that is like the one thing that I'm most concerned about is making sure my feet are not cold, because that's trying to play with cold feet is the absolute worst thing in the world. I just find it interesting that people will buy into that, which it's a technology that legitimately does work and your feet will legitimately be warmer, but there's so many people that will disregard the importance of the right stud pattern on the right surface, right? It's like, I'm going to buy boots specifically to keep my feet warmer, but I'm also going to wear Soft Ground Pro on artificial grass.
But I think this is because I know what you're saying, but it's because, being cold is very relatable, and it's it's an easy fix, because if you have to, have to find
being cold is relatable. Can we put a poll in the corner of the podcast here? If you've ever been cold, just vote yes or no. That was a great sentence.
Someone's gonna put that in a quote and say JayMike 2019 in the comment section, aren't they? Maybe the channel called Soccer Reviews for you, but I'm just anyway. Yeah.
T-shirt. We need T-shirts with that. Everyone has been cold.
But I mean, it's like an easy thing. Are you cold? Yes, no. Well, if yes, here are some boots. Okay, I'll buy them. I won't be cold anymore. But the whole thing about, you might get injured. Maybe it's just a little bit of a more complex thing for people to. I don't know, man.
Yeah, they look cool. They remind me so much of you got the example there. It's the World Cup colorway, right?
Exactly. Which is funny, but also it's the exact same color scheme that they've used. Which I don't mind, but the one just looks exactly like it, just with more teal.
Yeah.
Anyway, the funny thing about the Future is that usually the Future is quite stiff, but I did feel that somehow they made it stiffer. And I think it's the coating on the outside, like the silicone coating, but it was killing my feet. Every time I've been whipping in crosses for a couple of hours because Unisport tutorial videos, but every time you then bend your foot, this transition between the coated knit and the free Evo knit has really been digging into my feet. I'm actually quite hurt. So that's a little bit of a shame. And it just goes to show that for me, the Future is simply too stiff to really, I want it to go back to being soft and subtle again, like it started out being.
Yeah.
Just a side note.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really the last holdout on the market for a stiff upper out of the box. Everything's gotten so soft.
And that's the thing. They made an incredibly soft and supple upper, and then they went back to this. I mean, and the whole 3D texture is nice, and I thought the idea is good, but it just really takes a long time to break it in. And it's made me go away from the Future, actually. Yeah. So there we go.
Right.
Anyways, on to the questions. Yes. Iron Foot do you guys make a living from YouTube? Well, it's our job, so yeah. I mean, I'm hired by Unisport, and we make YouTube videos, so you can kind of say, yeah, we do.
Yeah, I mean, there's more to what I think both of us do beyond just making YouTube videos, for sure. Because I think a lot of people, right? A lot of people, they watch a YouTube video, like, oh, that's all he does all day, and it's like, oh no, there's more things that go into it all, but yeah, I mean, in general, yeah, sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Blake Grice has kind of reminded me of the name of the boot that was made with a canvas upper. It was the 1954 Adidas Argentina. So thanks for that shout out, Blake. Absolutely correct. And that's the one I was thinking of from that. They had this nice infographic with the Prime Knit footy sock and then the previous boots, of which the Argentinian was one of them. Anyway, Kana quotes me, ridiculously bad looking football boots. Doesn't sound like me to say. He actually says, are you insane? I know that it's his opinion, but bro, to say that it's one of the ugliest boots out there, are you insane? That's debatable. It's because of stupid crap like this that I just don't respect JayMike's opinion. Sorry to hear that. That color is dope as hell. At least Jerome is aware that people have different opinions and doesn't say stuff like this as a fact. He always says, in my opinion, or not my cup of tea, or the like. Bro, I'm really sorry if I've hurt your feeling by being too radical. I try to stay as, maybe I'm just a very strongly opinionated guy. I don't know which boot. Do you know which boot we're talking about?
We were trying to figure this out, actually. We have to rewatch the episode to find out. But I want to say you probably said it about like a T90 Laser 3 or something.
I've probably also said it as like a wild over-exaggeration to make a point. Because unless we're talking about like the Joma Fit 100 Lite, which is truly a mind-bendingly ugly football boot, and I think a lot of people will agree to that. Well, I try to be mellow, but if I'm not, I'm sorry, and I'll try to be a little bit more unbiased. But again, this is the Boot Nerds podcast, and we need to give you our opinions, right?
I appreciate how hard he went there. That was great. I also love the counter argument of, what are you saying? Those are dope as hell.
And with having two "are you insane" in there, thanks for that. But I'm glad you can at least listen to Josh without wanting to rip your hair out. So yeah, all this is, by the way, it's fun and games, and we do this in our spare time for fun because we love it. So don't take everything we say too seriously, because
you know what? Let's be clear. We're not. Great for your comment. It's very funny to us. Yeah. We're not making fun of you or anything like that. But I think both of us have experienced at one point or another, definitely me more than you, that you share an opinion and it's just an opinion about an inanimate object. But some people get very, very offended at having a different opinion. And whatever. People are passionate about the sport. People are passionate about what equipment they buy.
I'm not mad. I'm not mad. No. And I see your point, and it's fair play to be a little bit more, should we say, unbiased and cool in what I say. Anyway, It Ain't Obese says, thoughts on Liz Musset wearing Vapor 9s and overall more pros wearing older boots. Could also be the Batman, Michi Batshuayi, however you say that name, Batshuayi, wearing the second generation F50 Addy Zero in black and electricity in white. What are your thoughts?
Yes, seems to be a bit of a trend lately. Who else did I see? I saw someone for Barcelona in training wearing some older boots.
That was Rakitic, I think. He's been rocking the Champagne Manias, I think, at one point.
Yeah, he's been wearing some older stuff. It seems to be, I think we talked about this before, but in the NBA basketball, I'm not sure if familiar you are with it, but it's kind of a cool thing to wear some older sneakers that nobody else is wearing anymore. And I feel like that's kind of becoming a thing in the football world. And as we've both talked about so many times before, the companies would lead you to believe that if you don't have the newest boots, you are at a disadvantage. Obviously not the case at all. If you want to wear boots from 10 years ago because you really like them, go ahead and do it. They might not last that long. Keep that in mind. But yeah, I think it's cool. I like seeing this kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree. It's like, it's not really something that outrages me funnily enough, speaking of the last comment, but I mean, it's fun to see, and it's fun for us, boot nerds to sit there and spot and say, oh, that is the Vapor 9. It's a funny thing, he's wearing those, he's scoring in those. It's fun to see that some of the pros are actually also really passionate about their boots for whatever reason, by the way. Might be because they care about football boots or just because they have fun memories of what they achieved in said pair of boots. And another thing is, just want to give a shout out to Mason Greenwood, who's rocking his Nike IG GS 360s in black red with safari print on the toe box in training, but then rocking Phantom Venoms in matches, probably because of contract stuff. But it's a funny thing. Anyways, moving on here to rather big. We have some big questions here. What small changes in a new model of a boot have made a big difference in how it feels to you guys? I've been playing in the PUMA ONE all year, great boot by the way, and just got the 5.1 version thinking it would be better in every way. But the reduction in the number of lace loops means that I can't shorten the length of the laces that have to be tied, which was a great feature on the 1.1. And the 5.1 also took away the loop on the front that let you easily pull up the elasticated material under the laces. See, this is the kind of reason that I love doing the Boot Nerds podcast, because we actually have people who go into little details and think about boots the same way as we do. So big up. I mean, more of this, please, because it's a fantastic question.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very small difference, I would say, in terms of like how the boots are laced up. And I think the reason they went with a slightly shallower lacing system is the way that they incorporated the structure in the 5.1 versus the 1.1 or the one. What was the one after the 1.1?
That was the 19.1.
19.1. So confusing.
And then we have the 5.1. Oh, yeah.
5.1. Got it. Yeah. I agree with them. I mean, while I didn't use any of the extra lacing options featured on the 1.1, I didn't really see a reason why they wouldn't incorporate it on the 5.1.
And I totally agree with you. So I think actually that I still, maybe it's also because I'm sentimental, I still enjoy the 1.1 the most because of the slightly more padded feel on the leather toe box, and also because of the lacing system, because I really like to go as far back in my lacing system as I can to really get that heel lockdown. And you can do that on the 1.1, and you can't do this on the 5.1. And somehow the whole, I don't know if the top sock part feels a little less plush. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's just me. But the fact that you had the pull strap made it just a joy to get on. So yeah. I mean, but that wasn't the question. What was the biggest difference? That really how it feels to us. I think it, to me, was probably the PUMA Future 2.1. The 18.1 to the 2.1. That made a big difference for me. How they changed the material and also the membrane underneath to go more for a knit feel. That was a big, not a deal breaker for me, but I definitely liked that more. And of course, also, if we go way back to the Hypervenom one, that small change they made where they made the upper slightly thicker on the like 1.5 in the middle of the generation run also made the boot feel less sock-like and, like one-to-one with your foot, but it made for a more stable and solid boot. So ultimately, performance was better, but it did matter a lot. Randover.
Yeah. There's a few examples of subtle changes that I think made a pretty decent difference. Most recently, I would say X18.1 to X19.1, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
That was a pretty big difference for both being mesh-based uppers.
And we're missing the most obvious one.
that was the difference, +1. I was thinking the difference between the T90 Laser 2, remember they launched the initial upper, had that kind of like zigzag stripy pattern, and then they did the perforated version. I thought the perforated version was better.
Fair enough.
Kind of an opinion there. And then also I was thinking of the texture changes we used to see back in the days of the Mercurial Vapor 8 and 9.
Yeah.
Where you'd have the soft kind of fuzzy peach, and then you'd have this synthetic leather grain, and they did the dimples, right? And they had all these little different changes, and they ultimately did make a difference in terms of like the feel and experience of the boots. Also, ACC or no ACC, that seems to be the world of difference to so many people.
My man, why are we forgetting the most obvious change, and most recent change, Vapor 12 to Vapor 13? And the high tenacity yarns, like a minor change, but it made the world of difference.
Oh, I don't think that. See,
really,
aesthetically, it looks like a minor change, but like realistically, they didn't just take the knitted pattern from the Vapor 12 and add high tenacity yarn. It's completely re-engineered in every way.
Fair enough.
The sole plate, while still split sole, has pretty much been re-engineered. They changed everything on that boot.
Yes, okay, fair point.
This is why, Jay, I think this might be the last episode of the Boot Nerds podcast. These opinions you're throwing out, absolutely ridiculous.
I am insane. I am certifiably insane. Yo, I acknowledge what you say, and I can't even speak anymore. I'm that insane. I acknowledge what you say, and you make a fair point. But I think Nike wanted to make it look like a minor update, and maybe their PR machine has gotten to me in the end after all. So yeah.
I think those are all good examples. And just to add on, because he was complaining about a lack of adjustability options that were taken away from him, I would like to point out, and I think this has a lot to do with so many boots having one-piece uppers now, but remember back when every once in a while you get a football boot that gave you that extra lace hole from the very top point, it was a little bit further back and down a little bit more. I really appreciated every football boot that gave you that option.
Yes.
To just have that little bit of extra heel walk down, that little bit of extra grab around your ankle.
Because you could also do the runner's loop using that and make it more efficient, which was great.
Yeah. That needs to be brought back.
Yes. I'm just looking at boots, but I think we made a pretty decent list here. So we move on to the next question, which is from Similingen. Thanks for picking my question on the speed boot for wide-footed players. Last question as well. You can ask us many questions as you want, by the way. Just to clarify, if you might read this, what I was looking for in a supposed speed boot is lockdown, light and good traction a la Mercurial, blah, blah, blah. Is this even a question? I thought it was a good question when I read it. Thanks for the thoughtful suggestion, but Jay's recommendation, Phantom Venom, is impossible for me to fit, and the Mizuno Wave Cup is not for peasants like myself. We'll try the Puma King Platinum, though. So we ended up going with yours. So, yay, Josh. Again, JayMike, are you insane, bro? Sorry, man. We're not supposed to pick on people like that. It's just really funny. Adam Steve's topic suggestion: what would happen if a boot technology was developed that did objectively improve performance by a few %? As has happened recently in the distance running world with Nike's Vaporfly line. How would the leagues react? Would it ban it in the interest of fairness? How would competing companies react? Would they try to copy the new technology as quickly as possible, or would they be too afraid to be seen as derivative? What would players contractually obliged to wear boots without this new technology do? Would any try to get out of their boot contract, or is the amount they are getting paid worth more to them than scoring a couple more goals in a season? So a lot of questions here. I think we should all sum it up to say, what would happen if football boots had a boot come out with such a big, an actually measurable performance-related what do you say? Benefit?
Yeah.
Like it's better than the others. Sorry, my English. It's not the best. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, what would happen if we had a boot that was measurably better than the others in terms of performance?
Yeah,
because this whole Vaporfly thing is that you actually see other athletes from like New Balance and Adidas, they're either swapping into the Vaporfly and then, painting them to look like Adidas or New Balance shoes, or simply taking the Vaporfly outsole and slapping it on their regular uppers.
Is that actually happening?
That has happened.
Pardon my ignorance.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, really.
Yeah.
So this is what I was going to say is like, knowing Nike, they probably just paid the top guy who was probably going to set the record anyway to wear their newest shoe and make it look like, oh, look, he set the record because of his new shoe.
Look,
but this shoe is happening.
This shoe is amazing. I don't have the Vaporfly 4%, but I have the one before, and that outsole technology is absolutely bonkers. I was like,
really?
yeah. But honestly, I went back to my React shoes after running in the Vaporfly. I was just like, this is I don't get any energy return, and there's no spring. So you really feel how it, even when you just walk, how it propels you forward. And it's absolutely fantastic too. And again, I'm exaggerating a lot, but it really feels different to what you're used to running in even bouncy shoes like Reacts or Ultra Boosts or something like that.
That's unbelievable. I got to get a pair of those.
Yeah,
I was thinking,
this
is what I was thinking, because, and again, not to talk about basketball more, but I forget the company. I think it was APL. Let me see if I can find it. Was it APL? APL basketball. Whatever it was. Maybe it wasn't. No, it definitely was APL. They were banned by the NBA. So basically what this was is it had some kind of a spring in the midsole somehow, and they were claiming that you'd jump higher by however many percent.
Yeah.
It was basically proven not to work. Okay. But there was so much hype generated around the concept that this was even a possibility that the NBA banned it before anybody even had a chance to wear them in the league. As far as I know, I could be wrong on that, but it's one of those like independent companies that came out of nowhere with this like technology that possibly didn't even work at all, and the NBA banned it from the get-go. So
nice. It's the same thing with like there's this. I get this ad on Facebook all the time. Called, I think it's called Victory. With like
I've seen those.
Yeah, where he pushes down a regular insole, and then it bounces a little bit, puts in this carbon fiber insole, and it just like bounces wildly. I don't know if it actually makes you feel faster, but it's kind of the same concept they have in the Vaporflies. But what would happen in football if let's say that some of the brands came out with an actual performance improving technology? Let's say it's Adidas. Would Nike then go out and do the same thing, and Puma? Maybe some of the smaller brands would do it just to keep up, but would the other from the big three do it? I mean,
assuming that it's something that couldn't be like copyrighted or patented, then yeah, everyone would copy. That's what everyone does in this industry. It's copycat industry. Yeah. If it was Nike came out with this thing and they had a patent on it and nobody else could do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think you'd have some problems with, you would inevitably have what you're seeing in this running thing, as you said, where you'd have Nike boots disguised as Adidas or Puma boots that went into some custom shop to basically be rebranded. And I guess the other brands would have to try to play catch up to try and produce something that is just as good and performs at that level. But I'd also be curious to know, and this is something nobody really has the information to, but I have to imagine that there's something in these endorsement deal contracts that takes into consideration performance of the product, right? If there's another product from another brand that legitimately will help you perform better, perhaps there's an out in the contract to allow them to use that product.
Maybe.
I mean, I don't know. It would seem logical to do if I was like an agent for a professional athlete to have that in there, but I don't know.
Don't you remember that Fellaini? He had a lawsuit against, was it Warrior or was it New Balance?
It was Warrior that then transitioned into New Balance. He ended up losing that.
Oh, he did?
He lost that big time. Yeah, he was basically claiming that the boots were hurting his feet and he was getting blisters and they weren't providing him with good products. But they had all of these text threads on, hey, we're making your boots for you. Hey, did you try them? Are you comfortable? Yeah, they're great. I love them, blah, 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 blah. But he's trying to claim after the fact that I think there was some kind of issue with he wasn't paid the remainder of his contract because he wasn't doing his obligation as far as like photo shoots and stuff like that. I think he was bailing out on them.
Yeah, okay. And he started wearing Nike boots and all that stuff. I actually didn't follow it too much, but I just remember him being really, really mad about it. And actually suing. And speaking of suing, we are also going to cover the whole New Balance, Liverpool, Nike thing in some episode when we feel it's the right time. So if you want to hear our thoughts about that, let us know in the comment section right down below. But let's hope that some technology comes out that can really be like a game changer, because I want to see what happens. Whatever madness is going to unfold, that's going to be fun. And I'm going to get the popcorn.
I already know
ready.
what it's going to be, Jay. It's going to be a mid-cut boot that actually gives ankle support. And that's going to be the game changer.
Wow, that
You'll
sounds
never
like
roll your
utopia
ankle
to me.
again.
Right, so one last question here from Amateur Vingerhoods. Anyway, what socks do pros use while training, as it looks like they're not using grip socks? Examples are Mason Mount, Loftus Cheek, etc., etc. And he loves the show. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. See, the thing is that they're free to use whatever they want. And sometimes pros then get given these, like, this standard training kit, gear, whatever you want to call it. So they get given like standard Nike football socks. And some people like to just wear that. They don't really enjoy the extra grip. And after all the extra rubbing you get on the bottom part of your feet after wearing grip socks, because they do grip your feet a little bit more. That's just how it works. And some people like it. The two of us do, but some don't. And I guess Mason Mount and Loftus Cheek are just some of those people, or they haven't really bothered getting into the whole grip socks game yet, and they feel good. So if it ain't broken, don't fix it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if you're comfortable, I think consistency with socks is what a lot of pros go after. So if there's a specific sock that they really like, they're going to use it for training. They're going to cut up their match socks to wear it in a match. And I also would like to point out that a lot of pros at these very big clubs, they're playing on surfaces that are incredible. And from a comfort standpoint and avoiding blisters, Jay, I'm sure you've ran on some of the most immaculate pitches in the world. It's like running barefoot on the brand new carpet that just got installed in your house.
Right. But I mean,
it's almost impossible to get a blister. The surface is so nice, right?
Absolutely can. It's possible. If your boots are bad, well, it's not going to be as likely, but you can definitely still get blisters. That has happened to me.
Yeah.
But I know what you're saying.
There's a very big difference between running around on a professionally prepped pitch versus like your backyard with a bunch of potholes. Absolutely.
But then again, on the other hand, you do see pros, a lot of men, more and more pros wearing grip socks, and more grip socks companies popping up. So I guess it's just personal preference, and I have total respect for that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So I think with that question, at least I'm out of questions. Some very, very good questions today. I really like it when we get into these like bigger discussions where we can't just reply with like an obvious answer and a yes/no question. So big up to that. Really enjoyed. And if you have more questions, deep or just easy to answer, we welcome everything, and you can ask your questions in the comment section right down below. Also, if you have any suggestions to what we should talk about, well, everything goes right down there, even if you don't like what I'm saying. Also, if you are fond of what I'm saying and Josh is saying, well, you can leave a like on the video. And if you want to hear more of our podcasts that we've done 43 of now, well, you can go and subscribe to the Boot Nerds podcast by hitting the black bubble in the middle of the screen. And of course, also turn on the bell notifications. You can also go and check out what Josh is up to on his channel right over there. Subscribe to him, and go subscribe to us at Unisport if you haven't already done so. And given that Josh hasn't got any last comments, I'm JayMike and I approve this message.
Well, you can approve the message, that's fine, but I have a feeling that this podcast will not be FIFA approved.
Okay. That was pretty good.
It was good, right?
See you later, guys.
Later.